Jordan.
Thanks, Sarah. I actually want to ask about UFOs. Several media reports this week disclosed that. Sorry, it's UFOs.
I was going to say, I don't know if that's a coincidence or not. I feel like I already want to pass on this question, given that you've got aliens sitting among you.
Several media reports disclosed the existence of a secret Pentagon program that was researching UFOs, funding ran out for that in 2012. Does the president believe in the existence of UFOs, and would he be interested in restoring funding for that program?
Somehow that question hasn't come up in our back and forth over the last couple days, but I will check into that and be happy to circle back.
And then finally on the one on UFOs.
Let me start and do one at a time because I'm not going to remember all of those questions. If we have to, we'll see if we can get to all of that.
I'm correspondent Alexis Simendinger. I asked The Hill's White House correspondent Jordan Fabian why he decided to ask the president's spokeswoman about UFOs, which turned him into an instant social media sensation.
Well, I think because I said thanks, Sarah, when I was called on, it activated the Siri function on my phone. So it opened up and started talking and actually started pulling up my contacts and reading them aloud. And I guess some people, including Sarah Huckabee Sanders, thought there was an extraterrestrial presence in the briefing room and blamed that for the interruption.
I have to ask you, Sarah Sanders said she would circle back and get an answer for you, and I'm going to assume you haven't heard back from her quite yet.
I have not, but I had a private conversation with Sarah after the briefing in which I just basically said, well, sorry to cut you off guard. Won't be asking about UFOs again. And she said that it actually had come up at their pre-briefing where, the staff talks about the stories of the day that might come up on camera, and they discussed this New York Times story, and they decided, well, I don't think anyone's going to ask about that one.
Well,
they were wrong.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. I'm Nick Burns, Executive Director of the Aspen Security Forum. It's a pleasure to welcome all of you to Greenwald Tent. A real pleasure to welcome someone I've known for quite a long time, Admiral Phil Davidson, who's commander of our Indo-Pacific Command. We're going to have a fascinating discussion today with one of the most important military commanders in the United States, and someone who I think is in the most important region of the world for the United States. That's Admiral Davidson, and that's the Indo-Pacific. Let's take a question from over here. Yes, right here.
Numerous senior pilots from the Navy have been reporting significant UFO activity.
You take questions on UFOs, Admiral?
There's a reporting process for that and an office that handles that. And it was happening over a pretty finite period of time several years ago. I'll leave it at that.
Let's go from the left wing of the audience to the right wing, over here. All the way in the back. There's an advantage for sitting in the very back row of the entire Greenwald tent. And the mic's coming right to you.
With that, I will take some questions. So, Jeff?
Thank you. The Defense Department is expected to release more information about a terminated program that was tracking unidentified aircraft. Can the Pentagon say whether it has any evidence that extraterrestrial life has visited Earth?
I have nothing for you on that today.
Thank you.
Right. Nor do I.
All right.
OSDPA. With us today is Admiral Chaz Richard from U.S. Strategic Command. He'll be speaking about his mission set and the COVID virus. This is on the record. And with that, sir, over to you.
All right, so good morning, everyone. And okay, go ahead. I think I'm properly socially distanced here. It is, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Admiral Chaz Richard. I'm the commander of U.S. Strategic Command, and I have the privilege of leading 150,000 soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, civilians. The way we have put the strategic forces and capabilities of this nation together from day one, we were always very humble in our ability to anticipate threats. We always built in margin. We always built in hedge, not only for the risks that we could foresee, but the risks that we might not be able to foresee. And so a big piece of why I can stand in front of you and tell you that we're fully mission capable is because of wise decisions made by my predecessors to give me capability, flexibility, and everything I needed to be able to respond to the thing that we didn't see coming. And that's an important thing, important attribute I think we need to keep in mind as we think about the recapitalization of these systems. And with that, I'd be happy to take questions.
We'll stay here in the room with Lucas from Fox.
Lucas Tomlinson, Fox News. Admiral, the Pentagon recently stood up a UFO task force. Has that given you something that you have to plan for as the head of America's strategic arsenal?
Lucas, I can't go into a lot of detail on any number of things that we're working on. I'll just offer that Strategic Command looks at a wide range of threats. In fact, I probably let this conversation get too narrowly focused on nuclear capabilities, right? I think the last NPR wisely acknowledged that you can have a strategic attack that is non-nuclear in nature. That is something that has changed in the current environment. So we're looking at any number of threats, not just nuclear, to make sure we understand them, understand what might happen to us, and do we have a strategy in place tailored to deter that?
And that includes UFOs?
That includes any number of threats.
Back to the phones. Jeff.
Thank you. There was a media report that the DOD is kind of not taking seriously some legislation to tell Congress all that it knows about unidentified aircraft, and reports that these aircraft have been around ships and aircraft carriers. And I'm wondering, can you respond? Is the Defense Department taking this seriously?
If you're asking if we're taking our requirements seriously to develop this report and to keep Congress informed, of course we are. But I don't have any details on the specifics of the report itself for you today, Jeff.
Hi, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Go ahead.
Thanks so much, Jen. I just also wanted to ask you about a phenomenon known as...
The giggle gives away. I don't know what this question is. We'll see.
So I've already ruined it here. But this is quite a serious issue. There are these unrecognized objects in U.S. airspace that are also known as unidentified aerial phenomenon, I understand. And I wanted to see, there's a DNI report that I understand is going to be released soon. Can the Biden administration commit to releasing it in full?
Well, that would be for a decision by the Department of National Intelligence to make. As you noted, we're aware of the report requirement, and our team at the Office of the Director of National Intelligence is, of course, actively working on that report. And we take reports of incursions into our airspace by any aircraft, identified or unidentified, very seriously and investigate each one. But ODNI would be working on that report, and in terms of disclosure, that would be up to them.
I guess in all seriousness, though, can you characterize the president's concerns about these phenomenon? I mean, it is this concept of objects in U.S. airspace that are either origined from other nations or other entities, but what is the concern of the president that this phenomenon seems to occur in the national security apparatus?
Well, I think broadly speaking, the fact that we have a team that's actively working on a report. Certainly the safety of our personnel, security of our operations, our airspace are of paramount concern, whether that is identified or unidentified aircraft. And we don't discuss that publicly for a range of reasons, but certainly the President supports the ODNI putting together a report and following through on that commitment.
Oh, I was going to the phones, right? Okay. Okay, Matt Saylor, ABC.
Hi, John. Thanks for doing this.
Yes, sir.
A quick question on the coming UAP reports. There's been some reporting that this could be coming as soon as this week or maybe even tomorrow. Can you say anything about what timing we should actually expect?
The what report, Matt?
Sorry, the UAP report, UFO report.
That is really for the DNI to speak to, Matt. As you know, this is a report, a congressionally mandated report. DNI is in the lead. It will be DNI who will be making that report. Obviously, DoD has a role in helping flesh out the information that will be in that report. But as for specific timing, I'd refer you to the DNI. Barb, did you have your hand up?
I did. I wanted to follow up on a couple of things. And the very last follow-up, and I hesitate to be asking this, but on the unmanned aerial phenomena report, because you said, because many of these reported sightings have been from military personnel, and because you said that DoD is assisting with this effort, can you tell us anything about what you have been able to rule out? Have you been able to rule out the science fiction scenario of any kind of life form? Is this mechanical phenomena? Is this perhaps atmospheric? Can you just say, for people who are interested, that you have ruled out there's any life forms out there?
I would be getting ahead of a report that hasn't been submitted to Congress yet, and that's never a good idea for a spokesman in this town. So I don't want to get ahead of the report. And I refer you to DNI to speak to that.
That you can rule out at this point.
I am not going to get ahead of a report that this agency is not writing in response to a congressional mandate. I would refer you to DNI for more detail about that. Thanks. I think I've got time for one more, and I apologize for the time crunch today, but I do have to get going here. Paul Shinkman from U.S. News.
And then one last question on the Pentagon's contributions to the UFO report. I've been speaking with a series of experts abroad who have expressed some concern about similar investigations in other countries having too much of a military focus and not enough input from civilian scientists. I wonder if that's a concern that the Pentagon has shared and whether that came up at all during this most recent review process.
We're participating in a DNI-led study, again, mandated by Congress. We're providing context and information that we have on these phenomena, and our focus is on supporting the DNI's efforts to produce this report. That's where our focus is, and again, that's our lane. That's our place to be in, is to provide the kind of context that we have and the information that we have to help the DNI produce this report for Congress. Thanks, everybody. Sorry, I got to rush. We'll take some questions. Bob.
John, I'll start you off with a UFO question. How about that?
Go for it.
Has Secretary Austin been briefed on this report that's required by Congress? And also, just more broadly, does Secretary Austin see this, what apparently is an increasing number of reported incidents, as a safety report for the military in terms of pilot training and so forth, as well as a national security threat?
He has received a briefing on the work that the task force has thus far conducted. The report, as you know, is being crafted and will be delivered by the Director of National Intelligence, but he has received a briefing on the work thus far. And as we've said before, we take all incursions into our operating spaces seriously. So, I mean, like everybody else here at the Defense Department, certainly we are taking the entire matter seriously, as it regarding the potential for safety concerns.
Right. I mean, in other words, regardless of what the explanation may be, or if there is none of what they are, there are incidents in which pilots are seeing things that are close enough that it could be a safety, or it is a safety problem?
It could potentially involve safety and or national security concerns, absolutely. Yeah. Jeff, show.
Hey, John, happy birthday. There's no way that I can sugarcoat this. I was talking to a gentleman about the UAP report, and he contends the Pentagon has alien bodies and crafts. So I just wanted to run this past you. Does DoD have these things, and if so, where?
Jeff, the UAP task force is really designed to take a look at these unexplained aerial phenomena, try to help us get a better understanding of them. Again, I'm not going to get ahead of the report that the DNI will submit, that we are helping, obviously, and providing input to, and I think I'll just leave it at that, Jeff. Louis.
John, can you specifically address the reporting that's come out about this UAP report? The reporting that these UAPs don't appear to be alien spacecraft, that there's not enough information to actually address what exactly they are, and that they're not a U.S. secret black program.
Yeah, look, I've seen the press reporting on this, Louis, but I'm not going to comment one way or the other about the reporting, or certainly about the work of the task force and the coming report by the Director of National Intelligence. I won't get ahead of that process.
So can you rule out specifically that these are not alien spacecraft?
I think I've answered your question. I'm not going to get ahead of a report that hasn't been filed to Congress, and I'm certainly not going to speak about intelligence issues here from the podium. Again, seen the press reporting, but I'm not going to be able to comment beyond that.
I have two other issues.
Zeke, go ahead.
And just one last one for me. This Friday, has the president been briefed on the unidentified aerial phenomena report, and is he satisfied with the conclusions? Does he want additional work in that space?
Because it's Friday, it's always a little wacky on Friday. So let me first say that we know there have been press reports about the status of this report. This is a DoD report, and so I would certainly refer to them on the status of the report. Their work with ODNI is ongoing. The team's actively working on it, but it's not at a conclusion phase, as I understand, and as I think they've commented from their building. I will say that we take reports of incursions into our airspace by any aircraft, identified or unidentified, very seriously, and investigate each one. Safety and security of our personnel, of our operations, are of paramount concern. There's a requirement to put out this report, and certainly our appropriate teams are working on finalizing it.
Was the president briefed on it, or has he
I
been
don't
briefed
have
on
any
it?
update on internal briefings, no.
Travis Tritton with military.com. Back in June, the Deputy Secretary had ordered that the UAP task force be formalized, and that the department create a process for collecting and compiling all of that information. Do you have any update on that process?
I do not, but let me take the question, and we'll see if we can get you an update. I don't have anything updated.
If I could just follow up. Once that process is complete, do you anticipate that some of that information in some form is going to be released to the public, or do you believe that it's going to be mostly classified information?
About the process itself?
No, about the reports themselves, once there's a system to collect those.
We will be as transparent as we can be, Travis, but obviously we also have an obligation to protect sensitive information, classified information, and so, like with any other program that we're evaluating here at the Pentagon or initiating, we'll have to balance the very real rights and responsibilities to be transparent with our rights and responsibilities to protect national security information. So it'll be a balance. I'm not going to commit right now to releases of any specific nature. Travis.
Thanks, John. I wanted to ask you about this new UAP office that was created by Deputy Secretary Hicks and announced last week. The Aerial Object Identification and Management Synchronization Group. Was there it's a mouthful. Was there any coordination with lawmakers on Capitol Hill? They're proposing related legislation, like Representative Gallego and Senator Gillibrand. And secondly, some former Pentagon officials who had worked on this issue, Chris Mellon and Lou Elizondo, have said that this is an effort for the Pentagon to be less transparent on UAPs. And I was just wondering if you had any response to that.
On the first one, I can't speak to pending legislation. Obviously, I'd refer to those members, but we absolutely kept members of Congress informed as we fashioned this group together and announced it. And it is, to your second question, it is really designed to help us better coordinate the reporting processes, the actual reports themselves, and the analysis of those reports, so that rather than getting them sort of piecemeal and ad hoc as we've been getting them from the services, this is a way to coordinate the input so that we can. There's a common set of parameters for how to report them and to analyze them, and then to assess what we've got. And not all reports are going to manifest themselves in something that we consider a national security threat. So this is a chance for us to be a much more organized in the way we process these reports. And as we will certainly continue to be as transparent as we can about these phenomena and the impact that they may or may not be having on our ability to operate.
Is there any specific commitment to release some data or information on these to the public at some point? Something beyond a briefing to Congress or a closed door?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a specific report to announce today that on any kind of a frequent basis that we would do, but I can assure you that our intention is to be as transparent about this phenomena as we can. Again, Travis, understanding that there'll be national security considerations that we have to keep in mind, but we'll be as transparent as we can. But I don't want to leave you with the impression that there'll be sort of a regular drumbeat of some kind of report that gets posted on the website, every couple months. Yeah.